Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about episode 4 of Star Wars Skeleton Crew over on Disney+. I know it's been about a week and a half since the last long form video, but I've been posting over on the short form on the short side of YouTube, so make sure you go check out those, and make sure you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel because we're going to be posting regularly from now on, including tomorrow where we're going to talk about Creature Commandos and react to the first ever Superman trailer. So make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell for all of that stuff. Now, let's dive into Skeleton Crew episode 4. If you don't know my past with this show, I did talk about it on my Saturday show, Shane's World, a little bit. I really like this show. Can't say I'm like in love with it, like it's not my favorite show of the Star Wars shows. That's still the first 2 seasons of Mandalorian. But if this show can keep up its quality for the second half, as we are now officially halfway through, if the second half is as good as the first half, this show I think will be on par, because I am absolutely loving this show. And this episode in particular focused on one of, if not my favorite character from this show, Neil. Neil's my boy. I love Neil. Everyone loves Neil. Join the Neil Nation. And this episode was definitely focused on him and kind of showed him, gave him some more character, gave him some more growth. He found a new friend outside of Wim. Thank God, because Wim's annoying little prick. I hate that kid. And but it's not just him, it's more focused on Neil this episode. But KB, she keeps developing almost in the background. Like, she keeps doing like subtle things. Like in this episode, she's like killing the shooting. And Fern, she showed some emotion in this episode instead of just playing it tough. She finally let her barrier down to her crew a little bit, especially Wim. And it just, it's adding depth to these kids. They're not just kids, happy-go-lucky kids running around the galaxy. Like, they are more in-depth than that. And of course, this episode kind of starts blowing open the mystery of At-Aten, because in the last episode we learned that there are other planets just like At-Aten that were destroyed and rummaged through for whatever reason to protect the Republic, something like that. And they go to one of those planets. In this one, there was like 4 or 5 different names thrown out. I can't remember which. They're all like at a something. I can't remember which planet they end up on in this one. Is it like at Arton or something like that? It's something around there. They're all very similar named, and I can't quite pinpoint which one they're on, but it's like a rummaged, like militarized planet. Like there's a war going on, and they get wrapped up in it a little bit, and then the enemy forces end up finding the Onyx Cinder, which is the ship, of course. And who's on it except Jod and SM-33, and so Jod, of course, has to use his pirate smuggling skills to get himself out of it, and kind of talks his way out of that mess. But how does he does it? It's interesting, with Jod, because he does seem to be at least starting to genuinely care about the well-being of these kids. Like, he's still a selfish prick about it, but it does seem like he's starting to like care about them, and like he doesn't want, like, he could have just jumped on the ship and been like, see ya, and got out of there whenever he wanted to. But no, like he came back for the kids. Like, he's still in it for himself for sure, but he does seem to be starting to care about these kids, because he comes back for them. Does he steal Wim's credits and use them to barter? Yes, that's what I mean, where he's doing good things, but he's not doing them in a very good way necessarily. And then at the end of the episode, when they go into this planet's version of the Supervisor's Tower, and they start unraveling some mystery about these planets and about possibly At-Aten and how SM-33 ties into it all, which I found fascinating, that he was on this planet before, and he has been on At-Aten, and I do think that his former captain might be this elusive, mysterious supervisor, so that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. And then, of course, he attacks once Fern, reactivates his memory, I guess you could say, and he attacks Neil. And who saves Neil? Jod. Jod saves Neil. So, like, I'm telling, he does care about these kids. Like, he's not a complete scumbag, kind of similar to, like, a Han Solo. And I do think, like, they will end up on At-Aten, and it will seem like he's going to betray them for the treasure, but I don't think he will. I do think maybe they'll end up in some trouble with the supervisor or something, and he will come back, whether he, like, sacrifices himself to save them, or he just, saves them and becomes their true captain. We'll have to wait and see how that plays out. I'm curious how this all ties in together, because this episode, as I've said, definitely focused more on like the At-Aten, these 9 mysterious planets, like that kind of part of the story. But don't forget, we still have Brutus and Jod's former pirate friends looking for them. So, like, is it all gonna, coalesce onto At-Aten? Like, somehow Jod and them are gonna find the way to At-Aten, and Brutus and them are somehow gonna follow them, and then it's gonna be like a big battle where it seems like Jod's betraying the kids for Brutus. We'll have to wait and see, but I'm curious how it all is going to tie together. I'm curious about the past. Maybe next week, possibly. Maybe we'll get like a flashback episode where SM-33 and his old crew are on this planet and like what exactly happened there and why this captain didn't want anyone knowing where Atten was. And like I said, I do think that the supervisor on Atten is going to be ending up be like SM-33's former captain. I'm curious if we ever touch on John possibly being force sensitive again, possibly being some sort of former Jedi, possibly maybe he was a Padawan at one point in time, who knows. But I'm really, really liking the show. The only big holdback for me is Wim. I think that kid's annoying. It's not the actor's fault by any means. I just think the character is annoying. I think he's gullible. I think, if there's shit to step in, he's jumping in it because he's just getting his nose into everything possible and just creating more problems. He does have a little bit of moment where he's like trying to warm up the Fern a little bit towards the end of this episode where I was like, okay, maybe he's starting to mature a little bit. He just seems a little bit behind the rest of the kids. Like, I just not a huge fan of Wim so far, and he's the main kid, so that's kind of a problem. But I love Neil, I love KB, and I'm starting to warm up to Fern. I just wish Wim was just a little bit cooler, but maybe he'll get there by the end. Who knows? Maybe he'll become force sensitive. Star Wars loves making people force sensitive out of nowhere. Sabine Wren. But anyway, I really like this episode of Skeleton Crew. What did you guys think, and are you looking forward to the second half of this first season? Where do you think we're going to go from here? Do you think John stays with the kids, or does he betray them and team up with Brutus and his gang? Let's talk down in the comments below. Make sure you like that video and hit the subscribe button. As I said, tomorrow we're going to be talking Creature Commandos, the Superman trailer. Saturday we'll have Shane's World. Monday we'll have Dune Prophecy season 1 review, and we might have a few movie reviews scattered in there, whether I get to watch some movies this weekend or not. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys right here next time.